In lesson 17, we're looking at subscripted variables and angle relationships. Our first example, we're going to solve a system of equations using subscripted variables, but we've already been solving systems of equations, so this is just using a different form of variable. Okay, so we could use substitution or elimination. You can choose whichever one you want. I'm going to use elimination. So what I'm going to do is multiply this top equation by a -5 all the way across to each term on both sides of the equal sign. So I'll have a -5 n sub n plus -5 n sub d equals a -200. And what I'm going to do is add that to the bottom equation. I'm not going to change the bottom equation. It's going to have 5 n sub n plus 10 n sub d, that should have been a d right there, sorry, equals 250. So when I combine these, that would give me a 0, so they cancel out, and then I'll have a 5 n sub d equals 50, and I'll divide both sides by 5. So n sub d equals 10. And now that we know what n sub d equals, we can put that back in to one of the equations to find out what n sub n equals. I'm going to use the top equation. I just think it'll be a little easier. So n sub n plus 10 equals 40. Subtract the 10. So these will cancel, and then n sub n will equal 30. So we have solved the system of equations. In our second example in lesson 17, we're again solving the system of equations given certain information. These are rate, time, and distance type of equations, and this looks like two distances added together would equal 260. We're given the rates and then the relationship between the two different times. So what we're going to do is solve for one of those times. I'm just going to go ahead and solve for the Tm. So I'll subtract TW on both sides of the equal sign. So I'll have Tm equals 5 minus TW. And then I can substitute this in place of the Tm in that original equation that they give us. Okay, and I'll also put in Rm equals 40, so I can put in 40 for Rn, and Rw equals 60, so I can put that in here. So I'll have 40 times 5 minus TW plus 60 TW equals 260. So now I have one equation with one variable, and I'll be able to find out what T sub W equals. So I will distribute the 40 across, so I'll have 200 minus 40 TW plus 60 TW equals 260. I'm going to get my like terms here together. So I'll have 200 plus 20 TW equals 260. Then I'm going to subtract the 200 on both sides. So I'll have 20 TW equals 60. And divide both sides by 20. So TW equals 3. Then to find out what my T sub m equals, I'll just substitute in 3 for the TW. So Tm equals 5 minus 3, so Tm equals 2. And now we know what each variable equals. they gave what the Rm and Rw equal, and now we also know what Tm and Tw equal. So we've solved the system of equations. Our next example is looking at some angle relationships, and we need to find what x and y equal. So we are going to use this 50 degrees here, and the idea that this would also be equal to the 50 degrees because they're corresponding angles. They're both small angles. So one of my equations is going to be 5x minus 10y equals 50. Okay, and then my other equation, I know that if I added these two angles together, I would get 180 degrees. So if I subtract 50 from 180, I get 130. And this here, 7x minus 2y, is equal to that 130. So I'll have 7x minus 2y equals 130. Alright, and then I can either use substitution or elimination to solve for either the x or the y first. And I think what I'm going to do is multiply this bottom equation by a negative 5, and that way I'll have a positive 10y down here. When I add those together, it'll cancel out the y's. So I'll have, I'm just going to bring down the top equation right now because it's not going to change. And then I'll go ahead and multiply across my negative 5. So I'll have a negative 35x plus 10y equals a negative 650. And I'll add these together. So I'll have a negative 30x. The y's cancel to make 0 equals negative 600, and I'll divide both sides by 30, a negative 30. So those will cancel, and I'll have x equals 20. Alright, now that I know what x equals, I can put that back in to one of my equations to find out what y equals. So I'll just go ahead and use this top equation. So I'll have 5 times 20 minus 10y equals 50. So I'll have 100 minus 10y equals 50. I'll subtract 100 on both sides to keep our equation balanced. And then divide both sides by the negative 10. So y equals 5. So we've found both the x and the y.